Welcome to another episode of the SwarmCast, brought to you by Swarm Pest Control Marketing. If you're looking to take your pest control business to new heights, you're in the right place. In each episode, we've got a hive full of expert insights, strategies, and success stories tailored exclusively for pest control entrepreneurs.
Hello, my name is Wyatt Chambers, and we are on the SwarmCast, and we have an awesome guest here today, somebody that you've been seeing out there helping out pest control companies in the SEO space. Welcome to the show, Danny. We want to hear all about how you're helping people out, clients, as well as some of your journey that you've had in the last year and a half. How long have you been doing this now?
About a year and a half, yeah. I mean, I've been digital marketing for about 3. But yeah, fairly new to the space, but this is all I've been doing. But yeah, thank you for the great introduction, Wyatt. So glad to be here.
That's awesome, man. One of the things I've noticed is you've been talking to a lot of power players in the space. I saw that recently you were talking to the guy from White Spark, and just some other players. I was laughing in the comments where some people were like, "How are you getting these guests on your podcast?" And I think that you're probably just very persistent and you like what you do. So tell us about some of those experiences already that you've been having.
Yeah, so regarding the podcast, I think it's actually pretty funny because I really do not try to get guests. It's kind of spontaneous, and I might reach out all of a sudden. But really it's just from what I've already learned doing outreach, to get clients for my previous agency and now for my current agency. So I mean, I can kind of tap into my DM strategy if you'd like, which basically, I will start out, the first thing that I always do, which is, again, you kind of just want to be different when you're doing outreach, is instead of saying, hey, Wyatt, I'll go, Wyatt, with an exclamation point after. I do that every single time I reach out initially to people, whether it's prospects or whether it's, people that I'm having on the podcast. So that's the first thing that I do, just to kind of get someone's attention. If someone goes, Danny, I'll be like, oh, okay, what do you want from me? It kind of feels more fun and it gets my attention versus, hey, Danny, do you want 30 to 50 appointments this month, whatever. So I always like to start out kind of shouting out their name instead of just, hey, name. And then I also like to give a very kind of individualistic compliment. So not just, love what you've been doing, but, I think it's super impressive that you've been doing this for 15 years. I can't believe that you got this person as a client. And, this case study is ridiculous, man. I am just beyond impressed. I say, if you don't mind, I would love to have you on a podcast, but, if not, all good. Just let me know. Cheers. That's usually what I say to every person I reach out for a podcast. And, I've probably done 17 podcasts now. I think I've reached out to 20 people. So basically everyone says yes. And also, kind of little nuance in this is that I'm reaching out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a gold mine for reaching out to people. Some people may think it's overused or, no one's on LinkedIn, but I see LinkedIn as a gold mine. Most successful people are on there and fairly active on there, maybe checking every few days or so. And I've gotten great reply rates on there.
Yeah, it is a gold mine. I think what happens is a lot of people jump on LinkedIn and they do it all wrong, right? They usually will use, sometimes I'll use this outbound generation junk where it's, when I say outbound, where it just has a sequence of messages and then it just comes off as being cold and fake, right? Whereas if I got the Wyatt from you in my inbox, I'd be like, who's this Danny guy? So yeah. I think it's a great tip. So thanks for sharing that. I think that if you're a pest control owner, and you're trying to get a commercial account, there's a great add-on right there. Look for that commercial account, especially if you're going after something larger. You find out who the power players are, go to their business page and find out who is working there locally. A lot of these business-to-business professionals are on LinkedIn. So the less salesy, the better. In fact, one of the tips I liked is get that conversation offline as quick as possible. Get it from online to offline. Pick up the phone, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, 100%. And really what I'd like to stress here is not just like a normal compliment, but actually show that you looked into them a little bit. like show that you put some time into it. It could have been an extra few minutes, but just like, that is so impressive that you're, I don't know, doing this at this company. Maybe you received this reward or you've been in it for X amount of years. Just that little bit extra of personalization that most people aren't willing to do, especially with something like cold email. If you can just blast out a million cold emails, just that little hint of personalization makes it feel like, okay, it's not just an automated DM. It's not someone that sent it from Pakistan that's maybe controlling their account. This is a real person. They genuinely want to connect, and also framing it as something that they're doing for you. So I think a lot of people also have this kind of confused. This has been a great frame that I've been tapping into, where I will say, if you don't mind, I would love to have you on my podcast. Not like, hey, I'd love to do you a favor and have you on my podcast. It's like, no, I'd like you to do something for me, which actually a lot of people kind of have skewed, and they think that's a problem of asking for something. But if you come at it super vulnerable, giving them a compliment and then say, if you don't mind, I would love to have you on my podcast. Like, it would truly mean the world to me. Like, I mean, wouldn't you take that up? And now, as kind of a law of reciprocation, now I owe you. And then, my value transaction is now you get to be on the podcast. I send you all the clips from it. I'll shout you out several times on all the different social platforms. And that's a transaction, because everything's a transaction, right? So that's kind of the frame I like to go about it.
Yeah, that's a really good outreach that you got going on. Obviously, it's working for you. I mean, if you've got that kind of a hit rate and you're having these wonderful conversations with players in the industry, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, sounds like the next step for you also is to do some speaking engagements. You got anything lined up? You got anything lined up?
Nothing lined up in the near future. So I've already spoken at 3 DigiMarcons so far. That's kind of like one of the main digital marketing conferences. I was doing those for a while, and I do have opportunities to speak at future events of those. But personally, I've been waiting to develop more, have more case studies, have more social proof. So yeah, I'm kind of waiting on those. And yeah, in terms of other speaking engagements, part of it is imposter syndrome. Honestly, I don't feel like I'm a total expert. I've spoken on stage several times. I'm comfortable doing it, but I already did the same presentation twice, and now I'd kind of like to have some rock solid proof of, a process that works, and kind of just more proof of, what I've done so far.
Yeah, no, man, that's a nice, humble approach. And I think that imposter syndrome, a lot of individuals in that leadership space have problems with that. So you're not alone. I battle with that because sometimes we expect even a higher standard than what we're able to achieve, right? I mean, when you look at digital marketing, you can always do better,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always better. So,
Yeah.
Almost like talking inside your own mind saying, hey, you are good enough. You got
Mm.
this. And, think about all that knowledge that you've achieved over this period of time that can really help out these pest control owners who are struggling.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's
I
what it comes
didn't,
down to, right?
go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's what it comes down to, right? Is whether you're helping out or not. And personally, I know that I could come into just about any pest control company, totally scale it, totally help them, get them more customers, regardless if they just watch a YouTube video from me, if they see me speaking on stage, if they actually become a client. I know I can help these people. So yeah, that's kind of a barrier I need to get over. And I am also planning on doing, weekly YouTube videos on top of the podcast, doing like actual tutorials and all that stuff. So that's really what I'm trying to do, is just help as many people as possible.
That's awesome. And I'll just put this out preemptively. We're going to have a mastermind group, Danny, and I was thinking that you're in that top profile of having you come into that mastermind, and it'll be virtual to start, but have you come in as a speaker. So that would be something a little more thought out than just a podcast. But, I think that there would be a huge value to those PCO owners. And I call them in a stage one through stage whatever. I was talking to, a two sub-$1 million accounts today, both of which don't have a good SEO strategy at all. And then I was talking to a $50 million a year company yesterday, same thing, poor
Mm-hmm.
execution, things not done right. So, it doesn't really matter the size. There's just basic stuff that can be done on an ongoing basis, in that space. What I like about pest control is it's very hyper local,
Mm.
and I think one of the podcasts or one of your pieces I was watching on LinkedIn you had did was talking about, pest control near me. How many
Hmm.
people overlook that? How many
Yeah.
people are really neglecting one of their most important free tools is Google Business Profile,
Hmm.
where you see those things messed up. I was looking at one today where the appointment link in the profile was to a company that was charging them for lead gen.
Mm.
It's like, well, that's your asset. You don't need to pay them for a lead that's coming from your own profile,
Yeah.
that kind of
No, that's
stuff.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Have you seen that happen before? Have you seen that?
I've never seen that particular instance happen, but just to kind of give like a preface and background, I haven't been doing too much outreach recently. Or at least before the past few weeks, I was really just trying to nail my process and deliver for my clients. And now, just recently, in the past week or two, I've really been trying to scale and do a ton of outreach. So I've been getting on all these sales calls, doing all these audits, and every single pest control company owner that I've talked to said they've been burned by their agency. And it might be one agency, it might be two agencies, might be, this random guy that they found on the street, it might be their nephew, it might be whoever. They've all gotten burned. So in one way or another, whether it's changing the link in the Google Business Profile, holding their website hostage, something's going wrong. And I personally, I don't understand this. I don't know if I don't want to see myself as having like moral high ground, but I don't know how you can charge thousands of dollars a month and not deliver.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get in that space where they're okay doing that, and they think that's okay, and it's not. Before I started Swarm Pest Control Marketing, I think I was telling you on the phone a couple months ago that I've had my own agency called CS Design Studios for 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we have marketed just about every industry that you could think of. And one of the things that I want to do was do something that was repeatable, where it's less time to learn because you're doing the same stuff over and over again. It's not like pest control SEO is super difficult. You
Mm.
just compete with a lot of different players. Like one of the things that I was able to do in the last couple of years is start 3 pest control companies.
Mm.
So not just marketing, but starting from ground zero, brand zero, and going full bore. What is it like to build a brand? What is it like to build a customer base? And how do you market even during trialsome times like COVID?
Mm.
Typical, marketing error was to knock on doors. You go
Mm.
do an account and you knock on, do the crisscross across the road and knock on doors to the left and right and kind of achieve it that way. Well, during COVID, you couldn't do that. So
Mm.
it was all, I would say a majority of it was either referral based and or digital based,
Mm.
right? Being able to do that outreach. And as you know, reputation is everything. So when I see a reputation that has been managed correctly, like you see that all the time, right? When you're looking at these pest control companies where somebody's not even responding to reviews. How important is
Mm-hmm.
that?
Oh,
You
it's
know,
incredibly important.
yeah.
Yeah.
And speed, like tell about if you don't respond to that review, what does that look like on the algorithm side?
Mm. So I'll actually kind of give this caveat that this actually isn't like replying to reviews, and people will say that you want to get keywords in your reviews and you want to get keywords in your review replies. Those don't matter so much as actually getting real reviews and then actually having a real person reply to them. And again, it's not just like a copy and pasted response, but maybe it's Jenny and she said, thank you so much for helping us with the bed, getting rid of our bed bugs, whatever it is. And you say, hey Jenny, so glad we could reach out or come out there. So glad that Austin did a great job, whatever it is. But a genuine response versus what I'm seeing a lot nowadays is AI generated responses that you can use in something like SEMrush or Bird Eye, whatever it is. People generate AI responses, and this is a red flag to Google. Basically, anything AI like this, of you might generate a page-long response. I've seen this several times. People generate a page-long response to reviews and input keywords because they think it's going to help them rank better. The biggest, no, it's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
The biggest part of review replies is actually, replying in the right way, especially if it's a bad review. You want to reply to those immediately. But Google is more so looking for signals from the user. So this is kind of what everyone has twisted about ranking on Google and SEO and all this stuff, is that they're optimizing for Google, when every single SEO expert will tell you, again, I've had tons of them on my podcast, I've spoken to plenty of them individually. Everyone says optimize for the user, not for Google. So when you are doing things like replying in a certain time because, okay, well, Google likes it if you reply 2 hours instead of 1 hour. Like, no, just do the best thing for the user, which would be replying as fast as possible. And a big part of review replies is actually just for other people to see the review replies. So like the kind of classic example is if you get a 1-star review, absolutely scathing, someone hates your company, never want to speak to you again. Those are huge to actually leave a great reply to of, you know what, we're so sorry. We're going to look into this and we're going to get to the bottom of this. Like, we are seriously mad about this. Can't believe this happened. We are going to do whatever we can to redeem ourselves. That is so that we can get other customers that might see that scenario and they think, maybe this might happen to me. They see how you reply to those scenarios. But it's not so much about SEO. It's about the user. And then Google optimizes off of the user activity.
Those are great tips. And I've seen that in my own pest control businesses. I've seen that in the ones that we work with. So you're exactly right. Get rid of the AI responses. Have a real response. Do it quickly. Be genuine. Be transparent. One thing I would add to what you said is I teach pest control companies. If you got a 1-star, 4-star, call them. Get on the phone with them. Not only, like, you could say it in the review. I think it's good to say it in the review. Hey, we're going to make it right. But get on the phone with them and make it right. And it is possible to retain a 5-star culture. That's what I call it, a 5-star culture, where you keep those 5 stars going. It's the goal, and it's possible. It is possible to do that. But all you have to do is make sure the user is put first. And how much is that reputation worth? You and I both know it. It's worth a lot, especially if you're a pest control owner and you're going to sell this thing at some point in the future. Let's just say you built 1,000 good reviews. You got really good proximity search in that local geo, and somebody goes to buy you. Well, that's going to add a lot of value if somebody's going to do that. Now, some people get on and off the bus all the time with these pest control companies. I was kind of surprised yesterday to see that there's over 37,000 pest control companies in the U.S. I'd been saying 27,000. It's 37,000, which kind of blew my mind. PCT, I sent out an email blast last week. They have 27,000 members in their database.
Wow.
And that was pretty cool to do some outreach with PCT. Incidentally, am I going to see a Pest World this year?
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to have 2 booths there. Swarm Pest Control Marketing will be there. And then also we have a technology company. But it'll be fun to meet up with you and also just talk about some of the future of the mastermind, and also just sharing these stories that we come across. Because you're right. There's a lot of people that need help, and there's not enough people that are doing what we're doing effectively in this market.
What's the technology company that you're running?
The technology company is something. The first name of it was called Flock Off. We had to rename it recently.
Yeah, okay. You told me.
We talked a little bit about that, but we're on our version 4 of that technology internationally, and working with some pretty big players. I would call it a technology market disruptor, where there's nothing like it out there. So you'll have to take a look at it. It's called Simterra now. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
we'll have a booth. We'll have a booth there, which actually is right across from Swarm Pest Control Marketing. You'll see us both there when you come down.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun one because you know it, we're dealing with the largest pest control companies right now. They're testing those things out. I think I told you we rolled it out in the billboard industry first. One of our first installs was in Times Square, still there. There's a video camera on it. It's kind of funny to, see it a year later, 2 years later, and still have the same impact in that industry. But it's gone global. So that
Mm.
one's been a fun ride to be involved with that one. And we're not only marketing it, I'm a partial owner in that company as well, which continues to grow.
Yeah, no, that's so impressive. You've really just conquered every little piece of the pest control industry. It's awesome. I was telling you that when we first talked.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where if I'm going to go all in, I'm going to go all in. And recently, I wrote a book with Sean Campbell. We put it out there called The Tangled Web. I've been giving that thing away for free online. I had a experience with the guy today where he said he printed out the whole thing. And I said, hey, I could have mailed you a hard copy. You didn't have to print the whole thing out. And it was
Yeah.
kind of funny, but he was taking it that seriously because, like the story that you told about, this was their least thing in their pest control company that they were proud of, that they're not
Mm.
able to market online effectively. So
Mm.
before I wrote The Tangled Web with Sean Campbell, here's some books I'll hold up right here. I'm not sure if you've seen these before. I'd say buy all three of them. Let me see. There's one right there. This one was Amy Thompson did this one. Here's another one by Hal Coleman. He's kind of a player in the industry. Have you seen Hal's work before?
Yeah.
So only thing I'd say to Hal is, hey man, your cover's a little busy. there's a, there's a lot on there, and his book reads like that. But there's some really good stuff in here by Hal Coleman, and then Jason Berkowitz and Danny Binder on this one, how to terminate bugs. The terminate the bugs in your digital marketing. That's what it was. So
Mm.
you
That's
know,
good.
there's not a lot of books out there. Did you meet Jonathan Mast yet, Danny?
Yeah, I think I actually met him at Seven Figure Agency last year, but
Okay,
just briefly.
so that's exactly where I met Jonathan, and he's pretty much turned into the AI mastermind guy
Yeah.
out there, and he helped me write the AI chapter in the Tangled Web,
Mm.
and so
Okay.
we've become friends, and there's a couple other AI people in that space, but what's neat is that's not going away. There's a right way to use it, and there's a wrong way, and I think one of the things that you said is, hey, let's not use AI in writing review responses. Let's be genuine. It's not like people are getting that many reviews that they need to do that.
Mm.
And even if they
No,
did,
not
they're
at all.
missing an opportunity to have a conversation with their customer.
Definitely.
Yeah. So for PCOs that are watching this, there's the different stages, right? If somebody's a sub-$1 million player, what would be, and this is just something I was talking about, is what digital marketing advice would you give somebody that's a sub-$1 million player and they want to grow in the next year? What would be the main things you would tell them to really hyper focus on?
Mm. So to get to $1 million a year, I'd say there are two things that you need to focus on for sure, which is Google Business Profile and local service ads. We've seen both of those work phenomenally, and they also work very fast. As long as you have like a decent amount of reviews, which you should. You should be asking every customer for a review and have like a good review strategy in place. But those two are the fastest and pretty easy to scale. Now, both of them do reach a certain point where, like I said in the video, that Google Business Profile is proximity relevant, and some of our clients just completely tap out their local service ads account. So they might be spending $15,000 a month, and those are all the potential leads that they can get. So they've already maxed that out, done everything they can on Google Business Profile, and then they're usually at about like the $1 million mark there. And I'd say from there is when we start implementing SEO, and then I'd say once you're at a few million, we can go Google Ads. But I mean, if you just want to go rapid scale, then I would say those are the 4 main acquisition channels, and just hit all of those right away, which would be, again, Google Business Profile, local service ads, website, and Google Ads. I mean, I don't know if you agree, but I think those are the 4 main acquisition channels, customer acquisition channels. And they're all on Google. It's all very straightforward, and they're all also highly qualified leads. So I don't know if you know Jake Sheldon, kind of a buddy of mine. He ran Pest Customers Fast and several kind of pest control marketing agencies. One of them had over 300. He had 300 pest control clients, and he was doing Facebook ads for them. And he was even telling me that the leads on Facebook kind of suck. If you're, running a ton of Facebook ads, they kind of suck. But it doesn't cost too much, so I mean, it's kind of worth it. You got to sift through all these bad leads that might not have enough money, or they're not actually interested. They just kind of saw the ad. Maybe I want pest control. Whereas if you're on a Google platform, like the top 4 that I was telling you, people are interested. Pest control near me. Someone come to my house right now. Bed bug removal. Someone please get these bed bugs out of my house. So we like to tap into those 4 main acquisition channels, at least to start. And that's really what we focus on. I'm not even so much of Google Ads side. I have basically a white label Google Ads agency that we can bring in if we need to. But usually we just like to focus on website, Google Business Profile, and local service ads. But with those 4 platforms, I'd say that just about any company can get to around 3 to 5 million a year. And from that point, and again, I would say that you have more expertise on this topic. You own pest control companies and you have more clients. This is just from what I've seen in my clients and in the industry. But from those 4 channels, get to about 3 to 5 million a year. And then that's when we start going to other acquisition channels, which might be Yelp ads, might be Facebook ads, might be social media marketing. So then we start building the brand more. But generally, if you want to get to $1 million, Google Business Profile and local service ads to start for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't plant any seeds and just let you talk on this matter, because I'm in the same space like what you just said. Okay. Absolutely. I wouldn't waste any money on other channels until you've tapped those first.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I consider Google Business Profile like local SEO. The optimization needs to be there. If that's not tapped into, or if there's not review generation going on, because that's what people will look at when they see your ads too. They're going to validate your existence and see where you're at. Now, one of the topics that comes up a lot, and it'd be nice to hear your explanation on this, is how do you rank on local service ads if you're playing against some other players in the space? How do you rank?
Ranking on local service ads is basically a continuation of your Google Business Profile. So however good your Google Business Profile is, that's how good your local service ads are going to rank. So, I mean, the main factor I'd say by far is reviews. You see them right there. It will only give you a few factors. So it'll say the company name, it will say Google guaranteed, it will say, maybe the top kind of attribute that you want to say. So maybe 25 years in business or locally owned. And then it will say the review count and, how many reviews do you have, right? So I'd argue that reviews is probably number 1 in ranking local service ads, and potentially even ranking Google Business Profile as well. Again, they kind of tie into each other. So if you have the most reviews out of all the local service ads being run, I think most people are going to choose you, because that is one of the only stats they see. Again, they might see locally owned or family owned or, X years in business. But usually from what I've seen, people tend to rely on reviews. It's just an easy metric to go off of. 1,000 reviews versus 200. I'm going with 1,000 just because they know that company is more experienced. But we can do all the little optimizations to the Google Business Profile, and then maybe have a better location. Also boost up the website, because I mean, they all kind of tie into each other. If you have a better website, then your Google Business Profile is going to rank better. So there's kind of a bunch of different attributes, but I'd say overall, hammer reviews. That's number 1 by far.
Yeah, doing video reviews is so powerful, right? I mean, I love this podcast stuff because you can cut it up. We can put it on multiple channels. but I like seeing this. Usually with clients that don't have video reviews, I love to go. Let's bring them into the studio. Let's bring some clients and let's film them. Let's have them tell their story, right? Let's get their story on there, and let's do some other things like the frequently asked questions. That's low hanging fruit. Get some videos on your frequently asked questions because you can say a lot when there's a question that's thrown out there. Get your top 10 questions that most people ask in your business, or what they ask for your different services. So these are really good points. For somebody that doesn't have a lot of reviews, okay, and I come in this all the time where somebody doesn't have a lot of reviews. What is it that you like to introduce as far as a technology or a method to get more reviews? How do you instruct them to do that?
Yeah, so my personal favorite review strategy is printing up business cards with a QR code on them that links to leave a review. So if you have one for each of your technicians, maybe you have 5 technicians, so then you get 5 business cards. And by the way, I think you should already be giving business cards out to all of your customers. So you already have the business cards, and maybe you already use Vistaprint or whatever it is, and now you just edit that, you put the QR code on it, and now after every single service, again, we kind of train up our clients to do this, is we want to be asking for a review right after the service. So most companies will typically, maybe do an email sequence or a text sequence or call them and harass them. We think that you should be doing that if you are like a huge company and that it's really hard at scale. But I think if you're under $1 million a year, you should be for sure asking in person and be getting it in person. I think that's another thing where people usually lack is after the service, they say, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for getting rid of the spiders," whatever it was. And the technician goes, "So glad we could help. Would you," again, the same way that I use the frame of like the kind of cold DM, "Would you mind if you left us a review? It'd really mean the world. I'm a small business owner, or, this is a small business that my dad's running or my uncle's running, whatever it is. Could you please leave us a review? It'd really mean the world." Or, maybe if you're scaling up, then, I'm in a competition with all the technicians, or, I get a review incentive every review I get, please, just there's so many different ways you can spin it. But I really do believe in asking for that review right after the service, because that's when you get the highest conversion rate, and that's when they're happiest to do it as well, because we want happy customers. So they don't want to get a five email sequence, then be like, "Fine, I'll leave them a review." They want to be, or you should have them be happy that they left a review. And that way, "Can you leave us a review?" And then they say, "Yeah, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to." And then you show them the QR code, they scan the QR code, then maybe you can prompt them with a question. Like, I don't know, maybe what was something that you were surprised by the service today? And, just something just to kind of prompt them. So they, leave something, and then
Awesome.
They actually submit it. And then you say, "Thank you so much. Can't wait to come again. Use this business card if you have any questions for me. I'll always be in touch." And we've seen that work super well, especially up to, $1 million a year. That should convert. Like anyone who's like a decent person will convert.
No, I like that. I'll give you some material to also use. Is check this one out. It's like, hey, anything less than a 5-star service, I'm not leaving. I'm going to take care of it for you right now. That
good.
Works really good. Believe it or not, I heard that from a carpet cleaner here locally, and it works, man. Just say, "Hey, I'm not leaving until there's a 5-star review, or we make it a 5-star review right now before I leave."
Wow. And again, that ties into actual customer service. Like, this is actually about building a good business and helping people. It's not just like, how can we scam people and make the most money? Like that's not that.
Well, it's very personal, right? You're trying to almost not guilt somebody, but just say, "Hey, my income is based on my reputation, and I refuse to leave until we take care of you and you're at 100% and you're happy." Yeah, and then you're going to have less callbacks, less issues.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Yeah, no, there is some cool technology out there. I'm not saying don't use like a Bird's Eye, or there's other platforms like Go High Level. I do like Podium's a good one out there. But for a lot of people that don't have those fancy things, the card is perfect. QR code goes right to that review gen, right into the Google Business Profile. Most people don't know how to generate that QR code from the Google Business Profile that takes it into a review scenario,
Hmm.
right? And that link is very easy to grab. I mean, it's right there in the business profile. You can grab that link. If you don't know how to do it, we should probably leave it in the notes of this video where that's what we're talking about. Generate the QR code directly to the business profile so that they can go into review mode.
Yeah, I mean, I can explain it real quickly. So you go on your Google Business Profile dashboard, which if you don't know how to do, you search up your business name under the email that it's associated under. So instead of just seeing your business kind of pop up, you'll see a dashboard which shows, edit profile, settings, and one of them is ask for reviews. And then you click on that and it will give you a link to ask for reviews. And then that's what's like the kind of the prompting page of once you click on it, then it will show the stars and then it will show like a comment section below of how people can fill that up. So then you have the link there, you click copy link, and I usually go through Canva just because I love Canva and they have a QR code generator through there. But you can literally search on Google, any site, just search up QR code generator, and then you can put in the link. There are plenty of sites that do this. And then you can just take a screenshot of it or download it, and then you can put that on the business cards that you're using. Or if you don't even want to get business cards, then you can just have that screenshot on your phone. And then when you finish the service, then just show the QR code on your phone. Like there's so many ways to go about it, but we just want to make sure that's actually happening.
Absolutely. There's another cool company out there called Vice. Have you seen Vice before?
Vice.
So
What do they
Vice
do?
they'll give you a metal business card that's what you tap. You tap their phone with it. So then you don't have to
Okay,
hand
I've
out.
seen that. I don't know if it was Vice, but I've seen kind of different variations of that where it's a little bit easier. Like you tap your phone. That works too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most people have phones. I don't know about you, but I don't collect business cards. That's an easy way to just say, hey, let's get it can pull up that profile, save your contact information, especially if they've hired you as a pest control owner, right? You want to give them
Mhm.
all your information and make it easy for them so they don't have to, store the business card. But, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Vice is fairly inexpensive, and you'll have that metal card that you carry around with you. You'll see that at the trade show. I think that the
Mm.
business card, at least at trade shows, is almost pretty much dead with it. You'll see more people tapping stuff at the trade shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. We've talked about a lot of cool stuff today. Is there something else that talk about what you're doing for a lot of your clients? Usually in the first 2 weeks, what do you like to do in the first 2 weeks for your customer?
Yeah. So, in terms of our onboarding process, we have a 5-step onboarding process. So, the first stage, I'll just say them real quick and then I'll tap into briefly what each one is. So, the first stage is setup. The second one is access. The third one is tracking. The fourth one is audit. And the fifth one is optimization. So, number one, setup. We want to make sure that we have all the basic things set up. So, you should have a social profile for your business across all of the like 6 to 8 main social platforms. You should have, a basis of citation setup, which you can do in SEMrush Listings Management, or you can, set them up manually, which you want to be on, Yelp, Manta, Yellow Pages, all these main ones that if you kind of like look up pest control directories or local business directories, then you can find those there. Also setting up a dashboard for our clients, setting up a shared email so that we can kind of connect those two. And I don't know, just set up some other very basic things. So with clients, we set up agency analytics, which is like the standard dashboard that we use. We also use Bright Local, another dashboard, which that takes care more of just map scans. So people use like Local Falcon or, SEMrush is introducing it now. We usually like Bright Local because it gives more kind of comparative data of, what's the authority score between sites, how many links do they have. So we can kind of get more data through Bright Local. And it makes sense if you have like 10 clients or so. Usually it doesn't make sense if you're the actual business owner. You'd probably use like Local Falcon. But yeah, usually that's about the first week or so. Then, number two is just access. So we want to make sure that we actually have access to all of these assets. So, usually we get on a call with clients and walk them through it because, if we shared a video or a document, usually it doesn't get done. Not sure how you guys go about access, but that's how we do it. Just, hour-long video or so, hour-long call. And then number 3, we have tracking. So we totally believe in having proper tracking in place. So number 1 is call tracking. We need to make sure that we know where calls are coming from and are they attributed to the right sources. I think that's incredibly important, and especially as an SEO agency, or really just digital marketing agency, prove that we are actually getting you more calls. Because if we can show, last month you had 100 calls and this month you have 150, I don't think they're leaving. So we definitely want to have actual good call tracking in place. And that's regardless if you're working with me or not. I strongly recommend that to every single company, and it should go down to every single channel. And if you have several locations, then it should also be dispersed per location. So you should have a call tracking number for your Google Business Profile, for your website, for PPC if you're doing that, for LSAs if you're doing that, Facebook ads if you're doing that. And then if you have different locations, like let's say you have, a location in Houston, then a location in Dallas, then you should have Dallas GMB, and then, Austin GMB, like all the different locations that you have. So we can very clearly see, where the calls are coming from, where are we lacking? Okay, shoot, we're spending $15,000 here and we're still not seeing much return, but yet, we're only spending $5K here and we're getting tons of return. So we think that's incredibly important as well to get set up. And usually we see that companies do have call tracking in place, but it's either very basic or it's wrong, where maybe an agency set it up 5 years ago and now it's different. So I find that incredibly important. Also creating a SEMrush project to make sure that we're tracking all the keywords. And also you can set up like a site auditor on SEMrush that can kind of audit their site health every single week. Let's see, what else do we have for tracking? Obviously, finish setting up agency analytics just so we have the full dashboard for them. Agency analytics, if you're an agency owner, is absolutely amazing. I don't know if you use it, Wyatt, but you can track
I do.
just
I
about.
love agency analytics. It's powerful,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, you can track just about every single platform you want to, and I feel like it's even tailored towards SEO agencies because it has Google Business Profile and Bright Local, and I don't know,
Google
all these
Search
different
Console.
platforms.
It's got it
Yeah,
all.
yeah. No, there's tons of integrations. Usually we do about like 10 per client because those are the most relevant. So yeah, tracking incredibly important as well. Then 4th step, we want to audit. So I've actually recently added kind of a local SEO pro to my team, which I still consider myself a pro, but this guy's been in local SEO for 12 years. So he is fantastic, and we have implemented his whole audit process. So he has a 200-step checklist on Google Business Profile and even more on the website. So we go through and also believe in doing a very in-depth audit for each client, because we don't want to practice like kind of the doctor frame of, we don't want to prescribe without first getting a diagnosis, right? So we want to diagnose and then prescribe. So we want to see what's going on, what's wrong. And we also do believe in kind of a more custom kind of fulfillment. Whereas I feel like a lot of SEO agencies, it's kind of very templated. It's the exact same thing, checklist process. Whereas every single company, even if they're pest control companies between $500K to $5 million a year, there's still so many different nuances with each one. So we want to make sure that we're tailoring to those different nuances. And just seeing what's wrong, like, wow, you guys have 1,000 toxic links. We need to get rid of those immediately or you're going to get de-indexed. I just saw this recently. So things like that, we want to make sure that we're on top of. So audit everything. And then finally, optimization. So everything that we do on the audit, we see that there are these, big problems. Regardless of how big or small, we optimize all of them. So that's kind of our 5-step process that I've really been honing for the past year or so. It used to be 10 steps, used to be 4 steps, used to be 7. But that's kind of what I landed on right now.
Well, I think that processes are going to change, right? You should look at your process, and they're going to change every couple months anyway. And for anybody who's been in digital marketing, it changes all the time, right? What we did 6 months ago is not working now, or at least not to the degree it was. So one of the things that I looked into is called process triage. I got certified as a facilitator, and there's a really good methodology for creating process, which, we all talk about process, but how do you create the process?
Mm.
Take a look at that. It's called Process Triage. They taught me some things and made process fun. It was actually really
Hmm.
fun. Um,
Is
it's,
it a course or what is it?
it's actually a certification that you can get,
Okay.
and then you can facilitate people's process. Now, granted, I think the space that we're playing in, probably doesn't. We probably don't need to have a process triage guy come in because we're fixing their processes on digital marketing. And we think about players that are in our space that they don't usually have an internal marketing team. And
Mm.
even if they had an internal marketing team in this space, how many people are proficient at it? If all they did is work on one client, how good would you stay?
Not very good. No,
Not very good.
you have
Yeah.
to keep up with the industry and also be in touch with the market. I think to a certain level, you kind of have to be obsessed and be constantly hearing from pest control owners and constantly hearing from top digital marketers in the space.
So that's what the whole mastermind concept that I came up with, Danny, is I want pros in each place, right?
Hmm.
One of the coaches that's going to be in there has been doing pest control for 28 years.
Mm.
They've run a $130 million a year pest control company. He's probably heard a lot, including on the M&A side. So that's good to have a guy like that in the room. Guys that have been doing Google ads. I've been running Google ads for over 16 years. you know,
Mm.
it's changed quite a bit. It's not the same
Yeah.
engine, right? You
Uh,
start throwing out the different nuances of the different, what's the difference between a PMAX campaign and an LSA or Google Guarantee? Not the same game, right?
yeah.
I think that there's just not enough in the space to really help drive these pest control owners that
Mm.
are trying to survive. I mean, they will eventually what I call slow roll into success. Your reputation, if you do good work, you'll
Yeah.
keep picking up more and more clients, but it might be a slow roll. Who doesn't want to scale their business a little bit faster than probably what they're rolling right now? You
Yeah.
know,
Definitely.
it is possible, right? And I think that, I talked to somebody in Canada today. I talked to somebody in New York today. I talked to somebody in California, and their needs, like you said, are all different.
Uh,
They're all different. There isn't a one size fits all for each of them. Now you might have one program, but their needs are still different, and that's where
uh,
that personal touch comes into play. And I think that the work that you're doing, man, keep it up. You're doing great. You are definitely a player in this space, and I'm happy to say that we got a lot of help to roll out
yeah.
in the years ahead. And I'll look forward to seeing you at Pest World, and talking about some of these new strategies and different things that we can do. And man, this has been great. This has been great. Thanks for
Yeah.
jumping on my podcast with the SwarmCast, and we'll look forward to jumping on your show at some point as well. And you see anything that you want to know more about on my side, happy to share. But
Awesome.
as the mastermind gets closer, it's going to be a virtual mastermind we roll out. But that'll eventually turn into an in-person. We'll bringing speakers in and all that fun stuff. So more to come. I did have one question on your process. You were talking about attribution modeling on the call side. Is there a product that you're using that you really like on the attribution side?
For call tracking,
Yeah.
everyone that I work with uses CallRail. CallRail is by far the number one big player. Love CallRail. I mean, again, this it's kind of like nuances. I've tried several call tracking platforms. All of them are just about the same, but CallRail has a pretty easy user interface, and it also integrates with just every platform that you want to. So I wanted to integrate with agency analytics and some of these other platforms that we use. So CallRail by far the number one. That's what I'd recommend everyone.
All right. Well, I do like CallRail. I've been using it for years. I'm going to plant a seed for you. This is one for you to take a look at called What Converts. Take a look at
Mm.
What Converts and run through a demo on that. It does have some nice, and I'm not trying to pimp their product, but there's some cool stuff on user journey that is nice that I think you'll
Mm.
look there and see some value where, You can see when somebody comes in on an organic SEO search versus, hey, they came in on a Facebook ad, or they came in on a Bing ad, or they came in, how they, what was that journey all the way through? But that has some neat functionality that CallRail doesn't have yet. I'm not saying it's a fit for everybody, but I tell you what, pest control people like it. So take a look at that one as well.
Yeah, I think I've actually heard of that before, and I totally see the value in that. I'd actually like to implement that as well. But just from what I've seen, most companies that we take on usually are already using CallRail, and it's a total pain to switch call tracking platforms. So usually we just stick with that. But yeah, I'll definitely have to look into it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've had to port numbers. Porting is always fun, and trying to work around stuff, especially when somebody's been using a certain method. It is hard to switch it up. So I totally agree with that. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to wrap it up, man. I appreciate it. And I'll cut this thing up. And that's the end of our show, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Cool. Thank you so much, Wyatt. Truly appreciate it. And yeah, let's have you on my podcast in the next week or two.
Yeah, done.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, whether you're dealing with termites, ants, or the challenges of entrepreneurship, Swarm Pest Control Marketing has your back. And if you're hungry for more pest control marketing goodness, head over to swarmpestcontrolmarketing.com for additional resources, guides, and insights tailored to your business's growth.